Law enforcement goes high-tech, the future of crime fighting. Then your life might depend on these people. Rescue Squad, Sunday beginning at 9 on TLC.
This TLC program is sponsored in part by the new Dodge. It's about change.
A 3.5-liter V6, 214 horses, four-wheel independent touring suspension, an advanced electronic system, 16-inch wheels and tires, and the responsiveness of AutoStick. In case you're wondering just how well a Dodge Intrepid Sport handles, consider this your walkthrough. Dodge Intrepid. This changes everything. See your friendly Dodge dealer today and get $500 cash savings on Intrepid.
Prepare the edible elastic material by disengaging it from its disposable enclosure. Insert directly into oral cavity and begin the softening process. Apply vigorous intermittent pressure of the dental units. Moisten lips thoroughly and commence the exhalation of a concentrated emission.
Just about anything can be made to seem complicated.
Exercise caution.
A computer doesn't have to be one of them. The Acer Aspire 2000 series with the Intel Pentium processor.
In Australia, getting lost is never an accident. It's a requirement.
Have you been to the land down under? Where rivers flow through lands of wonder. You can almost hear the colors. You better come, you better discover.
Australia, come discover. For your free travel planner, call 1-800-DOWN-UNDER.
On the other side of the English Channel, Dr. Vince Gaffney is also using new techniques to speed up discovery of ancient Roman ruins.
This new car is powered by Dodge's 3.5-liter V6, has a four-wheel independent suspension and quick ratio steering, which make it a perfect choice at the Skip Barber Pro Series. Or, if you prefer, it's available in this 5-seater as well. The new Dodge Intrepid Sport. This changes everything. See your friendly Dodge dealer today and get $500 cash savings on Intrepid.
This is the Pentium processor inside the PC that runs the CD-ROM that lets you plan a vacation by taking a virtual tour. And since it is a connected CD-ROM, it hooks to a related website through your PC's internet link. So you can go online to book a hotel, which makes you happy that you have a Pentium processor.
Next, take a wild ride to the Wild West on real history and meet the soldiers, riding the plains against hostile tribes and fearless outlaws. A soldier's work was never done. The Wild West, coming up next on TLC. Tonight on Science Frontiers, overcome by the elements and frozen for over 5,000 years. What can this Stone Age mountaineer tell us of man's lengthy lineage? Enter the Iceman's World, tonight at 10 on TLC.
Coming up, how do you raise a fox cub to be wild? It's just another day at Fox School. After this on TBS.
State Farm invites you to test your knowledge of the world with National Geographic Atlas. The Isthmus of Kra can be found on which continent? Europe, South America, Asia. Stay tuned for the answer right after this.
A lot of what I do goes on behind the scenes. You know, most people aren't exactly on a first-name basis with their State Farm claim representative. They know their agent, but they probably don't know that their agent has a partner, that we're a team, that we've worked on hundreds of claims together. But people take notice when a claim is handled promptly, and you won't get too many complaints if you just treat them fair, because that's when people appreciate what we do and who they're insured with.
And now the Atlas answer. Asia. Located in Southeast Asia, Thailand's Isthmus of Kra lies between the Gulf of Thailand and Burma. This narrow strip of land is only 40 miles at its widest.
Jack, I'm not making any promises, but when you get your license, this car could be yours. But please, take it easy, because it has a lot of power, and it's quiet, so you don't have to crank up the music. But I'm not worried. I know you'll be a great driver. Just like your dad.
Introducing the new 1997 Mitsubishi Galant. A car you can count on. The new Galant from Mitsubishi. Built for living.
Hi. I'm about to have a wild berry zinger. Sounds fun, doesn't it? It's a Celestial Seasonings tea. The taste of those juicy wild berries really wakes you up. But there's no caffeine, so it won't keep you up at night. I love that.
Caffeine-free herb teas from Celestial Seasonings. Have a celestial night. And now get a free travel tin inside specially marked boxes of Celestial herb tea. Collect all 8 while they last.
I want one.
That room will be clean when I get back.
Absolutely, Mom.
Surprisingly realistic photo quality printers from HP. Built by engineers, used by normal people.
There's more than one way to look at things. With new Kodak Advantix film and cameras, you can capture the world just as you see it. The Advantix system gives you a choice of 3 picture sizes to let you pick the one best size for every shot, or capture one scene this way, and even this way, so your pictures can be the best you've ever taken. Kodak's advanced photo system, Advantix. Take pictures further.
This Monday, a TBS premiere. 3 friends on the journey of a lifetime.
Help me! Shadow!
Homeward Bound, a TBS premiere. Monday at 8:05 Eastern. Turn to TBS.
And now, back to National Geographic Explorer.
Faced with the daunting prospect of thousands of injured birds, the West Hatch staff springs into action. The next morning, the rescue process begins. But wild birds are none too eager to be rescued, even if the oil is destroying their insulation, poisoning their systems. West Hatch is Britain's largest facility for treating oil-coated birds. Today, they've got their hands full.
It's just basic first aid. We wipe the oil off their heads and from around their eyes, round the beak, inside the beak to get the oil out of their mouths so they don't ingest it. Then we give them about between 25 and 30 mils of this charcoal mixture, which will then hopefully flush a lot of the gunk out of their systems. It's a disaster, and there's no other word you can put for it, and West Hatch are just being run off their feet.
One to the hospital.
Do you want any more?
Yes, as many as you can get, sir.
Okay, all right.
Be lovely. Thank you very much.
We've just overflowed with wild birds on the wildlife hospital, so we're now into the dog and cat home.
We're talking thousands and thousands of birds that are going to be affected now. These ones are just absolutely covered in, they're dripping in the stuff. It's just, so it's a matter now to see if we can sort of get them washed before they ingest too much and do internal damage.
Everyone at the hospital is exhausted. But even with all the commotion, there are still rounds to be done. And just down the hallway, the orphan fox cubs are progressing nicely.
They're doing very well. In fact, the one we operated on is the fattest of the bunch now. It's just a case of just come in and check them every now and again. They've all been wormed. In fact, I think this is the little girl there.
Soon enough, these little bundles of fur will be ready to be released. But right now, it's the birds that need the attention. Hour by hour, their situation is getting worse, and more patients keep coming in. So many birds and so few workers to help them. And they have to move fast, or else the birds will die.
We'll be doing this now for, I think, probably the next 2 months. I should think day in, day out to try and clear this number of birds. Most of us come in at 8, and we'll work straight through then till 10 at night. The staff are all getting a little bit on the tired side.
Anybody?
Probably get about 8 in the morning.
Strained to the limit, the clinic has taken on a new wildlife vet intern, Emma Keeble.
You're going to like this, Emma. We've got an otter coming in. Adult male otter. Ralph Evans has rang. Will be with us in about half an hour.
Her first day on the job, and Emma's got to become an instant expert on an animal she's never treated before.
I think there's very little in the textbooks, actually, you know, on otters in general. I'm just trying to work out what sort of anaesthetic I'm going to use and what sort of dose, but I'm unsure as to exactly how much it's likely to weigh. So I'll have to figure that out. But if it's in a really, really bad state, a lot of the injectable anaesthetics that we use can lower the blood pressure and therefore are quite risky. How'd you get him in the box?
I picked him up. You got gloves?
Yeah.
Decent ones?
Yeah.
Ah!
Has he got you?
No, he hasn't got me yet, but he's trying hard. Oh, yeah.
Hang a sec.
You bad little animal. Where do you want him?
Right on the table.
Mind your hands, please.
This otter was struck by a car, and he's clearly in pain.
Put your hand.
It's all right if he bites that.
I can't do much here now.
Lovely. Just, are you right? Keep
Yeah.
tight hold of him.
I got him.
Lying on you. See the way that he's breathing, it's quite paradoxical. The chest is coming out, the abdomen's going in.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to take an X-ray of the chest, definitely. Okay, we want to get him straight on the gas as quickly as possible again. If it is a fractured shoulder blade, I don't think there's going to be an awful lot we're going to do for him, be able to do for him, which is very sad, but I'm afraid it's a question of assessing how they're going to cope in a wild situation. He's going, his heart's gone into fibrillation, yeah. That's a horrible thing to have to decide, but it's your instinct is just to go ahead and try all you can to save it, but really there wasn't any point. You can feel that the shoulder blade's actually snapped in two. There's nothing we could do for that would be good enough to put him back into the wild, and as sad as it is, I think that was probably the best thing for him.
It's not the happiest outcome, I mean, but that animal was very, very severely injured, and the sooner you can decide it's not going to be any good, the sooner you call it a day. It saves putting it through a lot more stress and trauma. That's wildlife medicine.
1 week in, the oiled birds aren't doing too well either.
These are today's casualties, some of which we've had to put to sleep. We've had a member of staff in tears this morning. I must admit I got a little bit choked. Those that we had to put to sleep were dying. You get lost for words, quite honestly. The staff are working round the clock. They're working till midnight, coming in early. We're doing everything possible, but there are some that just aren't going to make it.
But with a little coaxing and a lot of feeding, Pauline's orphaned badger cubs seem to be on the right path.
There you go. Come on, then. Oh, you're a heavy lot, aren't you? Go on, Tad. Have a go.
It's a lot of fun, cub rearing. I mean, you can see what adorable creatures they are, and this is the trap that a lot of people fall into, but if they don't make the break at the right time, you ruin them as an animal. And they are a wild creature. They're only out on loan. They've got to go back. We have them to start with so that they form social groups here and have their play, which is quite natural for them. But eventually we've got to make the break. As with Glade here, he's now 16 weeks. He's actually going to go today. It's his time to go down to the RSPCA into a larger enclosure. If he didn't go back fairly soon, he would become too tame. When he eventually did revert, would not be afraid of human beings, and he would become a dangerous animal. And that's what's happened to an animal that we have down in the observation set. He was reared by somebody else,
the break wasn't made at the right time, and now we have a problem animal who has reverted to being wild but has no fear of human beings, and I don't really know what we're going to do with him yet.
To avoid the same problem, today the RSPCA staff is launching the red foxes on their journey back to the wild.
The stage we're at now is where we release them onto grass so they can learn to behave as they would in the wild. They can learn to catch prey like earthworms and bugs and things.
They're being released to an intermediary enclosure, an animal halfway house.
For some of these foxes, the first time they've ever touched grass, which is really peculiar for a fox of this age, because in the wild they would have been on grass for the past 3 or 4 weeks.
The main reason I'm not in there is just in case they recognise my scent or my voice. We did have a few occasions when they were inside in their pen, and they did actually recognise my voice as soon as I went in, so you've got to keep me away from them.
What we now do is we'll let them go into this enclosure, which is a large enclosure. They can behave now like wild foxes. They'll be monitored for the next 2 to 3 months. Once they're big enough and strong enough for release and behaving totally wild, then we'll let them go.
It's actually quite strange to see them running around because I can't really recognise them. So it's brilliant to see the change in them. They seem so wild.
And after 12 days of scrubbing and care, there's finally some good news for the oil-soaked birds. More than 1,000 have come to West Hatch, and now the first ones are being returned to the waters of the English Channel.
This is the end product. This is everything you're working towards. The final release of the birds back to the wild, what makes it all worthwhile. It's come a long way, it's been through a hell of a lot. I'm not going to quite know what to do. Times like this, you come out on a day like this, let the bird go, and that's what makes the job. Absolutely stunning bird. That's the sight to see, isn't it?
The first birds have made it back to the wild, but just over the horizon, another crisis looms.
When Explorer returns, we'll continue our climb to the roof of Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro, only on TBS.
TBS Destination Sunday, tonight on Topics. Golden opportunity or gold rush gone bad? Host Mario Van Peebles takes to the hills and digs up the dirt on gold. What does going for the gold really mean? And what do the famous neighbors have to say about this modern-day gold fever?
There are some things you just don't put a price tag on.
Find out why all that glitters is not gold. The last great American gold heist. Topics, tonight, 9 Eastern, only on TBS Destination Sunday.
Just because something hasn't been done before, does that mean it can't be done?
The Chrysler Concorde LXI.
Now receive $1,500 cash back. The Chrysler Concorde, built on the belief that anything can be done.
Tim, Grandpa said when we make jam, we'll be following in his footsteps. Yeah, I know. Ever seen the size of his shoes?
Today, these two Smuckers are the 4th generation making great jam.
Your feet will get bigger, Richard. I've been watching them for the last 2 days. They haven't grown an inch, Tim.
For almost 100 years, the Smucker family has made it good. With a name like Smuckers, it has to be good.
Coming up on the next half of Explorer, go to the extremes of human courage and compassion. They're full-grown and healthy, but can they survive in the wild? Then, Explorer Journal follows Lynn Hill in her quest to become the first person ever to free climb El Capitan and do it in only 24 hours. And shoot the rapids with a National Geographic photographer as he makes the first recorded run ever down China's Shoalo River. Prepare yourself for the ride of your life when Explorer returns on TBS after this.
It's one of the most comfortable cars I've ever driven.
People love talking about Ford Taurus.
It's fun to drive. It really is.
With Taurus, you fit in no matter what size you are.
I'm big.
I'm surprised by how much room there is inside it.
Everybody in my family's big.
Just turn the wheel a fraction of an inch. The car responds.
There's a lot more room.
It's designed so I don't have to search for anything. The seats feel like they wrap around you. It's a state-of-the-art car.
Ford Taurus, the best-selling car in America, starting at $18,545.
This car is a pleasure to drive.
I have fun.
I'm grateful that Michael Garcia is in our lives.
State Farm, Mike Garcia speaking.
We had a house burned.
That was a tough day.
They didn't treat us as a policyholder, they treated us as a neighbor, as a friend.
I gave him a check right away. We went from there to putting the pieces back together.
He's not a hero in the sense of a sports hero or a movie star. He's a quiet hero. He looks out for everyone in the neighborhood.
It's gone from being a slogan to really being my way of life.
But critics agree. The English Patient is the best reviewed movie of the year. Newsweek calls it a stunning success. Time says this is the real thing. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 big thumbs up. The New York Times calls it a fiercely romantic, mesmerizing tour de force. The LA Times says it captivates as only the greatest and most consuming passions can. It's the best film of the year. The English Patient, rated R, now playing select theaters.
And now, back to National Geographic Explorer.
Back at West Hatch, a new problem has arisen. This time, the patient is a swan.
This little cygnet, it came in on Saturday, my day off. Steve just told me he wasn't very happy with the way it was behaving. It was sort of standing up and sort of leaning back too far. And just looking sort of a bit incoordinate, not walking properly. I said, oh, come on, then let's just whack it on the table and x-ray it. Lo and behold, we're fairly certain we've got 2 lead shot in the gizzard. So there's only one answer now, we've got to go in and look for them. Lead, in fact, is a problem with swans. Anglers leave their lead shot. Well, in fact, they're not supposed to use lead shot now, but there's obviously still a lot of shot knocking around. And it's fatal for swans if you don't do something about it. Yeah, that's one of them. It's 2 to find. Oh, it was going to be easy. I found the one just like that.
The operation seems to be a success, but Gillian Dean, veterinary nurse, is getting anxious.
He's really not breathing very well.
I'm just going to get on this side off as quick as I can.
Wakey, wakey, please.
It's been a long time, so it shocks against him.
He's just not breathing very well at all.
In a last-ditch effort, Peter tries mouth-to-beak resuscitation.
He's not been breathing well throughout it, and I've turned the anaesthetic gases off and just left him on oxygen.
You're going to die now.
And then...
Thank God for that.
Come on, crackers, you can make it.
Phew. Oh. Here you go, Steve. Patient's back. Oh, okay. There we go, little one. Nice and warm for you. Oh my God. Oh. Right now, we're just going to hang on for the next 48 hours and hope that everything goes all right. There we go. Fingers crossed.
With all these animals, the goal is to get them back to the wild. But not every release works. When the badgers are set free to roam the countryside, one turns out to be a problem. It's Glade, the little orphan they've been worried about for weeks. Half tame, half wild, he's become too dangerous to himself and to humans.
And this is the very first one that we've ever had to say, sorry, it's too risky.
Now, if they can't find someone to take him in, he'll have to be put down. Luckily, they've got just the person in mind.
You're lovely when you're cuddly, aren't you? It's when you start waking up a bit and want to play. That's when it gets a bit rough, isn't it?
I'm afraid he's a failure on my part. He's one that, out of all the cubs that I've had, has come back to me because he hasn't reverted, which is a shame from his point of view because he'll never be able to go back to the wild.
So we shall keep him, and as long as he has quality of life, he'll stay with us in captivity.
But some stories have happier endings. For other animals, the wilderness beckons, like the swan that Peter operated on 3 months before.
I've released lots of birds actually on site, but to actually be able to follow this one right through is actually fabulous. But this has been great because you do the operation, and then sort of do the nursing, you're watching them through, getting them right sort of through to being fit to come back out in the wild again. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it's all about. It's what I came to do. The light-coloured one there over the back, that's the one we took the lead out of, and well, look at it, it's great. It's in with its mates now, and it's back to the wild. Brilliant.
And after 6 months, the fox's story is coming to a conclusion too. But to be set free, these wild creatures have to be caught first. And that's not easy.
Problems we have is the fact that our foxes are reared so wild. They're cunning, they're quick, they soon suss out what we're trying to do, and they go other directions. So if we reared them tame, it'd be very easy. Well, that's not what business we're in. Well, it might look pretty tough, but it's very quick, very effective, and I actually think it's tougher on us than it is on the foxes, to be honest.
Miles away at the release site, the foxes are sent out. Some go quickly. Some are more tentative as they take their first sniff of freedom.
A lot of hard work goes into it, but we, along with the majority of other people in the country, think it's actually worth saving foxes and doing nice things for them.
This magnificent fox, the one that Peter operated on all those weeks ago, takes a last look and heads into a new life, back where it belongs, back to the wild.
Next, Lynn Hill struggles to become the first person to to ever free climb the sheer granite face of El Capitan and do it in only 24 hours. After this,
Boyd Matson.
It's the morning of day 3. With all the logistical coordination that's going into this expedition, it's like a military campaign. Assault on Kilimanjaro. First of all, we can't carry enough water for everybody, so some people have to collect it from the local streams. Then it's the individual responsibility to make sure you put in one of these iodine pills to treat it so it's drinkable. Each of the porters is assigned certain equipment to carry. Some are responsible for the generator, some have to put up the tents, a couple do all of the cooking, and then a few have the job of looking after us to make sure that we don't get lost or hurt ourselves. Each day we also have to reorganize our personal pack. For instance, today we need warm weather gear, rain gear, cold weather gear. Judging by the past couple of days, we'll be changing our clothes at least 3 times today. Successful mountain climbing requires meticulous preparation. Up next on Explore Journal, we're going to meet one of the best in the business, American rock climber Lynn Hill. She's going to scale California's El Capitan. She'll be taking one of the most challenging routes, a sheer granite north face that goes thousands of feet straight up.
I guess the average person would perceive what I do as very risky. When people say a climb can't be done, I look for possibilities. I don't let fear get in my way.
I'm Lynn Hill, a professional climber. There's a special climb in California's Yosemite National Park. For years, people said it couldn't be done. This was the perfect challenge for me.
This climb is called the Nose, and it goes straight up the face of El Capitan, over a half a mile of unrelenting vertical granite. I wanted to be the first person ever to free climb the Nose in a day. Free means climbing free of equipment. I'd use just my hands, my feet, and the natural texture of the rock. A safety rope would save my life in case I fell. I needed to be in the shape of my life. For 3 months, I trained for the Nose nearly all day, every day. When I exhausted my climbing partners, I climbed alone on my wall at home. My background in gymnastics has been a real advantage for climbing. I had to do more than just train my body. I also needed to be prepared mentally. At least 7 people have fallen to their deaths while climbing the Nose, but the fear of falling didn't stop me. Fear is something I've learned to deal with. There have been moments that seem to come to a pinpoint of intensity where I think, I can't believe I'm here, but here I am, and I've got to get out of this situation. There's just no choice. You look down, it's dangerous. You look up, it's difficult, but you have to keep going. Jig up! There are risks in life, and for me, climbing gives me life, and it's not something that I would ever stop because of some fear that something might happen. And if something does, well, then that's the way it is, and I have no regrets. I live near these limestone cliffs in the south of France. The climbing's great, and I really like the simple way of life here. I moved here in 1991, the year after I became World Cup champion. It was exciting to win international competitions, but after several years, I got tired of artificial walls and of competing. I'm very competitive with myself, and I like to learn and test myself, but
this spirit of competition and beating somebody else is not really what I'm interested in. What I really like is climbing in beautiful places with my friends. Yosemite is one of those places. I first climbed the nose when I was 18, but it wasn't a free climb. I relied on my equipment, and it took 4 days. This time, I wanted to free climb it in 1 day.
The first person to actually take on the challenge of doing the nose route on El Capitan was a man named Warren Harding.
Back in 1958, even some of the climbers thought he was crazy. It took him 45 days spread out over 18 months.
What's the word? Egomania? Yeah.
Like Harding, people used to climb the nose by hammering pitons into cracks and hauling themselves up. But I wanted to free climb all 3,000 feet of the nose. I would use only the rock. No one else in the world had ever done it before.
I think it's great. I know she can do it.
Thank you.
And if you don't, I'll sneak up behind you and kick you.
Another pioneering Yosemite climber and a good friend is Jim Bridwell.
When I started climbing, I don't think you would have conceived that it would be a woman who climbed the nose all free first. It wouldn't have come to mind. But then again, climbing the nose free wouldn't have come to mind either.
You're saying that's a person? That can't be a person.
Let's see. Yeah, I see the white dot. I can't imagine someone wanting to do this for fun. I just can't.
When I first arrived in Yosemite, I felt a lot of energy in my stomach because I knew this was going to be a big event in my life. It was a lot of climbing to do in a day. I'd never, ever attempted something quite that big.
My climbing partner was a reliable old friend, Steve Sutton. We set out at 3:30 a.m. Steve carried the pack with 7 quarts of water and a little bit of food. It was his job to feed out the safety rope as I climbed and hold tight if I fell. I trusted Steve with my life. The marathon began. I felt tense and had an ominous feeling about the fate of the day. I climbed nearly 2,000 feet in 9 hours without rest. I finally reached the first major obstacle, the Great Roof. No one else had ever been able to free climb past this section of extreme difficulty. I was almost out of water, and the blasting heat of the midday sun was taking its toll. For 5.5 hours, I struggled to climb past the Great Roof. I was exhausted and dehydrated. I had to give up. After a few days' rest, I felt a renewed sense of motivation. Looking across the valley at the nose, I contemplated my strategy. I had to give it one more try. After having failed on my all-free ascent in a day, I knew exactly what I was coming up against the next time around. 2 weeks later, under a full moon, Steve and I headed up again. I had climbed all night and into the early morning. Everything was going better this time. I had plenty of water, and I'd started a lot earlier. I knew I had to reach the Great Roof well before the worst heat of the day. "11 hours of climbing 2,000 feet of rock, and I was back at my nemesis, the Great Roof. My small fingers were key here. I could just barely fit the tips of 2 fingers into a thin crack under the roof. I made it past the Great Roof on my first try. This was a major breakthrough. Now I had a chance to make it. My performance was flawless. I'd climbed 15 hours, no falls. But I was just below a corner that would be virtually impossible in the hot sun. I was thankful to take a long rest. I had to wait all afternoon until there was shade in the corner above. I started too soon. The rock was still hot. I slipped on my first 3 tries. I paused and gathered my concentration. I thought, okay, do it right. This is it.
What you think?
Get ready for the Houdini.
I twist 180 degrees, using only opposite pressure between my feet and my hands to keep myself on the rock. I made the corner, but it wasn't over yet. I'd been on the nose for 21 hours. Almost 200 feet of strenuous climbing still remained between me and the summit. The beginning of my second night on the nose. If I fell here, I wouldn't have the strength to finish my free ascent. I thought, I can't fail at this point. I'm too high. I put too much energy into this. There was nothing that was going to stop me from trying to the very end. Suddenly, I was there. I was at the summit, and I'd put out an enormous amount of energy. It felt like a dream, a kind of surreal state. This was the culmination of more than 20 years of climbing.
Well, it's too late to change our minds now. We're here, 16,000 feet, Arrow Glacier. This is our first real test of the high altitude. At this elevation, you can get pulmonary or cerebral edema. That's the swelling of the lungs or the brain. You can also suffer from severe nausea or headaches. Fortunately, so far, nobody in our group has got any of those symptoms. We're going to camp here for the night and then tomorrow climb that part of the mountain, and that's still not the summit.
Our trek so far is a walk in the clouds compared to what's coming up tomorrow. We'll face the toughest terrain in the thinnest air. Next, TBS.
I have Explorer and your host, Boyd Matson.
That good feeling we all had at 16,000 feet on Kilimanjaro last night didn't last long. About 10 minutes after we got there, everybody started getting cold and then got sick. Now, this morning we were in better spirits, but now, midway into our climb on day 4, the fun factor has dropped dramatically. The clouds came in early. We have no idea where we are. We can't see how far we've come or how far it is to go before camp tonight. Finally, we've climbed above the clouds and reached the rim of the volcano that forms the top of Kilimanjaro. Although we're well above 18,000 feet, we're still not at the summit. It's that peak back there where we'll be standing tomorrow if all continues to go well. As arduous as this trip has been, we have to keep reminding ourselves plenty of tourists do it every year. The youngest was 11, the oldest in their 70s. And although I fall comfortably in that range, our guides keep reminding me I am the oldest person on this climb. Wherever there's a challenge, you'll find a brave soul ready to face it in the name of adventure. On our second Explore Journal this week, we're going to ride some whitewater with Beth Rippins and her team as they attempt to run the treacherous Shuilo River in China. As far as anybody knows, it's never been done. It features Class 6 rapids and 40-foot waterfalls. So hold on to your stomach. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I love these kinds of trips. In fact, this is the kind of river running that I live for.
I found it to be an incredible challenge, a lot of dark thoughts, a lot of fears, probably some of the strongest fears of perishing physically that I've ever had in my life.
I'm Beth Rippins, and I'm a guide for Earth River Expeditions. We're headed to a remote and isolated part of China to go down a river that's never been run before. We have a National Geographic photographer along, Ed Cashy, and I hope he likes shooting rapids as much as he likes shooting pictures. North of the Great Bend of the Yangtze River lies a little-known tributary called the Shuilo. With food and supplies for 10 days, we'll explore this river as it winds through the Tibetan highlands, some of the oldest and steepest mountains in the country. Once we drop into the canyon, we won't have any contact with the outside world. We won't even have radio contact. So if one of us gets hurt, there'll be no way to call for help.
We don't have safety nets backing us up. You know, we have ourselves, we have each other, we have our skills, we have our experience, and we have our equipment.
Being in isolated China, we can't fly over the river. So besides being out of touch, we really don't know what kind of obstacles we might find.
This trip can be likened to the trips of the early adventurers. You know, John Wesley Powell, when he headed down to the Grand Canyon, he didn't have radio support, he didn't have good maps, and he went down there and, you know, and he survived. And overcame tremendous obstacles.
Got a new clothing? Yeah, I do.
First off, just overall, your first priority is taking care of yourself.
Joe and I run a lot of rivers together. We take turns trip leading, and on this trip, it's his turn. This is a big group to take on a first descent. Including me, there are 6 guides and 11 hand-picked clients.
Warming up their hips, and you're going to jump straight into this very cold water.
Everyone has lots of experience, except Ed, who's new at this. The first thing we do is get people in the water so they can feel how powerful it is. They need to know how hard they're going to have to work if they fall out of the boat. One of the most prepared is Henry. He's rafted on every continent except Antarctica.
Oh, this is a trip of a lifetime. This is one of those few places that nobody has done this before. And I'm a sucker for adventure.
All ready?
It's hard to imagine now, but according to locals, the river was up to the bridge just 2 months ago during the monsoon season. Now the water level has dropped, but it's easy to underestimate. When the water gets rough, I have to make quick decisions, and I need quick responses from my crew. The river twists and drops, but so far it's still manageable. It's a roller coaster-like ride, and Ed hangs on with one hand and takes action shots with the other. We definitely don't want to go blindly downstream, so we pull over in eddies to look ahead. When it's really rough, we get out of the boats and scout. Rivers are classified between 1 and 6. Class 1 is moving flat water, and Class 6 is unrunnable. This is an easy Class 5 rapid, so we're going for it. It's not always as easy as it looks, and 3 of us, including me, went for a swim. The current's strong. I throw the kayaker my paddle and swim like crazy for the rock. Fortunately, the others make it safely into boats.
You just swim a little harder. Instead of swimming at 80%, you have to swim at about 105, 110%.
After a long day on the river, it's late before we find a place to camp. We have to settle for a rocky ledge. We're tired and we're hungry, but we're psyched from the adrenaline of the day's ups and downs. Each day before setting out, we try to plan our strategy.
Well, I guess we can expect it to gorge up again.
But our map, about 50 years old, is hard to read and unreliable. Between these 11,000-foot-high granite walls, we're starting to feel closed in. The river is powerful and swift, and if we get to an impassable rapid, finding a way out could be tough.
Taking a trip where the people who organized it didn't even know what was around each corner. It's been an interesting progression of sort of fears or fantasies I've had. You know, crashing into a rock and having my teeth knocked out, or having my jaw broken, or having my head cracked open, or breaking my arm. take your mind off for a second where you're stepping or where your handhold is, and then the next thing you know, you're crashing down.
It's not only beginners who can get hurt.
Ow, ow, that hurts. Ow, 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 ow.
I think I'm not going to watch. I just slipped, you know, it wasn't even a big thing. I mean, we slip all the time on these slippery rocks.
It's good we have a couple of doctors along. It's also good the cut isn't any deeper. It'd be tough to run this river with one hand. As it turned out, there's no way to run this at all. Boulders the size of trucks block the middle of the river. Beyond are two waterfalls, plunging 15 and 20 feet. Unrunnable all the way. We're stuck against the canyon wall with no place to walk. We have no choice but to get out the ropes.
A very important line is the orange one. That's the lifeline. That's life support.
It's too steep to hike out. Our only option is to creep along the cliff face just above the water level.
It starts to abrade, then obviously that margin of safety gets diminished.
Some of the group had climbing experience, but others became almost paralyzed on the wet, slippery rocks. It took hours to inch our way across, but eventually everyone made it.
Lean back on the rope. There you go. Good move. That's it.
After 4 days, we've only gone 25 miles, not even a third of the way to the Yangtze.
The boulders are so big, it's going to be hard to move it around them. Yeah.
Pressure's on Joe and me. But clearly, there's only one boss on this trip, and that's the river. The Shuelo just won't let up. The farther we go, the tougher it gets. Over the next 2 days, it's one waterfall after the next. We use almost every technique in the book to keep moving downstream. But our progress is slow going. And then the tension picks up. Directly in our path, we find a dead body. If anyone doubted the power of this river, they don't any longer. What many of us are now questioning is the wisdom of going on.
Unfortunately, the time we've taken in the upper part isn't going to allow us to finish the lower part.
The truth is, if we'd flown over the river first, we probably wouldn't have brought people here. Up ahead, there's a bridge and a trail, and it may be our last chance to hike out. But deciding to leave is tough on everyone.
You know, basically we have at least 1 day to make up our minds for those of us that have not decided. Or do you want a decision now?
There's no decision to be made. The decision has been made.
Oh, okay.
We only did as much as we could do. You could have set it up as a 4-day paddle and 4-day trek. We would have all come anyway.
That's for sure. It's just been incredible.
Personally, I felt a tremendous amount of disappointment and frustration. I felt that as the guide, that we were doing the right thing by leaving. We weren't just there ourselves, just a couple of river runners that can handle a lot of different situations, you know, and we had people that we were responsible for. I hope they weren't disappointed.
maybe I'm really showing my beginner colors here, but I'm generally very excited about the future, but it's bursting with energy, bursting with anticipation and excitement about, it's almost like I've been given a new lease on life.
We've made it more than halfway down to the Yangtze River, and it's been an amazing first descent. I want to go on. I want to do what we set out to do. I want to see what's around the next corner. I want to keep going on into the unknown. I want to float down into the Yangtze. I don't have immediate plans, but I'd like to go back and finish it.
Next, the Leakey family legacy continues with an amazing archaeological discovery.